don't subscribe to the old school way, nor the new school way, only the optimal way. The 80-20 Baseball Experience with Coach Bo.
Welcome, everyone. This is Coach Bo with 80-20 Baseball. I hope you're making the most of your day, and I hope you're having an enjoyable day at that. In this episode, we're going to discuss, first, why all stats take a backseat to this one single set of numbers. Number two, we're going to discuss why players do what they see Major League players do and how we can use this in a cool and productive way. Number three, we're going to discuss how to optimize the pre-inning routine and how to get more out of those valuable minutes. Number four, we are going to talk about why autopilot should be avoided when designing training drills and how this can help to slow down the game come game time, equaling more success. And number five, lastly, I have a very useful bonus tip at the end, as I'll tell you what the exact best time to pick off is, the best time for a pitcher to pick off is, and interestingly enough, it's very rarely ever done. It's not a trick play, it's just talking about what the best time is in the best situation for a pickoff. All right, let's get right into it here. First discussion point. All stats take a backseat to the score. This is so very important for everybody to understand when it comes to baseball because it just keeps you, it's like your compass. It's like the end point. You know, you can take different routes, this and that. At the end of the day, all stats take a backseat to the score. Run production and run prevention. That's how we should measure all baseball strategies, techniques, training methods, etc. So, for example, if you hear like exit velocity, and there's nothing as exit velocity, I'm just using an example. Like you got to say, how much does exit velocity help produce runs? And of course, I think hitting the ball harder helps produce runs, right? How much so, and how much does each part of your training and each strategy you use and each part of your method and all of your methods, how do they help to produce runs for offense and prevent runs on the defensive side? The baseball community must be very careful to not erroneously deduce that overall effectiveness of pitchers and hitters is improving or declining through the use of measurements such as stats, and such stats as K per nine, strikeouts per nine, or walks per nine, batting average, etc. And I'm seeing this and I'm reading this, like I read the other day, this was a minor league hitting coach said that pitchers are getting better because strikeouts are going up. They're striking more guys out and velocity is getting better. And he literally said, this is a professional hitting coach. And he was saying that because pitchers are striking out more batters and they're throwing harder than what they're doing is working. Their training is working, and that hitters need to catch up. And then I said, wait a second, does that mean that hitters are scoring? I mean, at the end of the day, all that matters is that you're scoring more runs as an offense. It doesn't matter if you strike out more, but you score more runs, then you're winning. You're getting better. I mean, if somebody said, hey, do you want to strike out 27 strikeouts in the game, but score 15 runs? Or have zero strikeouts? I know this is an extreme example, I get it. Or do you want to have your guys not strike out at all and boast them and compliment them and praise them at the end of the game for not striking out, but they only put one run up on the scoreboard or two runs? And I know that's an extreme example, and that's not how it's probably going to play out. But my point is this. All that really matters when it comes to assessing the effectiveness of pitchers and hitters is, do they help score more runs and do they prevent more runs with what they're doing? So run production and run prevention is the true and ultimate measurement of the effectiveness of anything within baseball. This is the compass. This is the compass we must use and stick to. Run production and run prevention is the true and ultimate measurement of the effectiveness of anything within baseball, specifically player development and baseball training and team training. This is why it is very important to measure a hitter's production using stats like weighted runs created plus, and that's a great stat. Go read up on weighted runs created plus. If somebody asks me about a hitter or wants to value a hitter, ask me if I have a buddy who's not really into baseball but he's not really into baseball like I am, but he has a favorite team, he has a favorite player, or his team grabs a favorite player, like my best friend. He's a huge Angels fan, and when they got Rendon, he said, "What do you think about it? How do you, how does it, he knows Rendon and he knows baseball, but he wanted to get a little bit back, some of the backstory and more of a kind of a detailed analysis." And one of the first stats I go to is weighted runs created plus, not batting average, not on base percentage. I go to weighted runs created plus. How many runs did the hitter create? And that's the same reason why I go to ERA. Personally, I go to ERA minus. I like the weighted ERA that takes into park and things like that, park effect and different situations, and kind of factors in everything to make it kind of an even playing field. All things considered, kind of nullifies some of the variables to really get a clear comparison amongst all pitchers. So I'm a big ERA minus fan, not necessarily strikeouts per 9 or velocity. All right. Yeah, sure. If you strike out more guys, you might have a better game, but the statistics are showing clearly that ERA has gone up. ERA in the Major League Baseballs is at a 13-year high in 2019. It's a 13-year high. Pitchers are giving up more earned runs than they have in the past 13 years, but they're striking out way more guys than they ever have. So if strikeouts were the thing that mattered, pitchers would be winning. But it's not. It's about preventing runs. And when it comes down to it, they're giving up more runs, and runs are what creates wins and losses. In the story, championships are not won on strikeouts per 9 innings and velocity readings and batting average. They're won because teams score more runs than they allow. So when weighted runs created plus and ERA minus, and so on a basic level, you could use something like, you could use like OPS is probably a better stat than certain things for hitters, but really when it comes down to it, hitting is a little bit harder. Earned run average is a little bit easier to figure out like on the high school and youth level, but you get my point on this. Those are much more closely correlated to the run totals. And again, run production and run prevention is the true and ultimate measurement. Those are the numbers. The score is the ultimate measurement of the effectiveness of anything within baseball. So I know we understand this, but we have to understand that all this other stuff is we got to be careful that it doesn't distract us. And when I hear a major league hitting coach say, hey, pitchers are getting ahead of hitters, pitchers are improving faster than hitters because they're doing X, Y, and Z. And his evidence is, well, look, they're striking out more batters and their velocity numbers are up. And then I look at the ERAs and the runs per game, and the offenses are going up. They're the ones that are improving. They're scoring more runs. The pitchers are giving up more runs. It just doesn't add up. Now, I have my take on why he might have done that. I hope it's not why he did it, but it is what it is. And anyways, we can learn from that. Next topic, player see, player do. 3 less common yet effective ways for players and teams to productively use video. Players, I just saw this just this morning. I saw a video of a kid at a game, at a college game, and he was doing it. It was on Twitter. He was doing a windup, mimicking the windup of the guy out on the mound. It was really cool. He's a younger guy, and I know I did that. And we, anybody who has favorite players, you emulate. Not that you can perfectly, obviously, but you emulate those guys you see on TV, and you see those guys that you see at the ballpark. So why not use that to our advantage and use these 3 strategies? 1, show your players video compilations, and there are a lot of them on YouTube that you can access in minutes, seconds. Video compilations of Major League. I would type in MLB hustle plays and show that to your players. There's some great video. You could literally watch a 10-minute video and see 50 hustle plays or 30 hustle plays. There's some on there be like top 50, top 100 hustle plays of all time. And so when the players see that, they start to see that's how the game is played. And so our players, these young players, aren't going to probably sit down and watch a 3-hour and 5-minute game, which is what the 2019 average game time was. But you can show them these compilations, and you can just kind of put it into, you can condense it into something and show them that. I would do this with my teams often. I would show them MLB hustle plays using YouTube. They already love YouTube. Get them to watch that. It ingrains how it should be done and how it should look. Number 2, have them watch video compilations of MLB's smartest plays. I like watching things like the hidden ball trick, best hidden ball tricks of all time, but the smartest and wisest plays. You'll see Yadier Molina, who's just a super uber intellectual, smart, cerebral player, and he's doing things that you might not see unless you watch the 162 games. You might only see 3 or 4, but the thing about these compilations is somebody's already gone and filtered them out and put them all together for us. So show your players something like, you could search on YouTube, MLB smartest plays. Check that out. Show your players that. Last, I would watch before a big game or before any game or definitely before a big game. I would show the team or have the team watch personal highlights of them. Personal highlights or team highlights. And I remember, I don't know the story if it was Ricky Henderson or somebody was in the locker room and he was watching before a game. He was watching highlights of him hitting home runs and the starting pitcher for the other team for the upcoming game that day, giving up home runs. Not just to him, but to all players. So he was watching himself hit home runs to boost, to kind of give him that imprint, that confidence and that success into his mind. And then he was also watching the pitcher, old footage of the pitcher that he was about to face, giving up dingers. And he said, I don't know if it was Ricky Henderson or somebody said, it doesn't really matter, but the story is true. The player's name, I guess, is kind of irrelevant, but it was a major league player, and the coach said something like, hey, something to him like, what are you doing? He goes, hey, when I go out to the game, all I know is I hit dingers and the pitcher gives up dingers. That's all I know. He gives up home runs and I hit home runs, and that's what's in my mind when I step to the plate. And I'll tell you what, that is awesome. So I'm telling you what, these are three very effective, useful ways to use video in a concise way. These video highlights for like the personal and team highlights, they don't need to be more than 5 minutes to really kind of boost that inner confidence with your team and have your team and players go into the game with that sense of like, yeah, I've done that. Now, if you don't have a lot of highlights, you might take some time. Maybe you can ask the parents if you do youth ball for, can they send you videos? Can maybe a team parent put something together with the success of the kids? Maybe the parents kind of work on that. In high school, it's a little easier, and definitely in college and pro ball, it's real easy to get access to this stuff and put these highlights together. All right. Third part of this podcast, let's talk about optimizing the pre-inning routine on defense. So the defense's pre-inning routine has very little variation from time to time. It has had very little variation from team to team over the years. And it's been that way, like I said, for a while. Yes, there are a few coaches that have looked to improve the pre-inning routine, make some adjustments, some improvement over the years, as I've seen some very interesting variations. But if we were to put a number on it, I would say about 90% to maybe 95%. So basically 19 out of 20 teams that I watch in their pre-inning routine do the exact same thing. The outfielders throw the ball back and forth. The infielders take a thrown ground ball from the first baseman, throw it back to the first baseman. Pitchers make 5 or 8 pitches, with the last one coming from the stretch, and catchers throw the last pitch down to second base. Then the extra balls get thrown into the bench player or the coach or the dugout, and the inning starts. Now, before I move on and share some suggestions on how to optimize the pre-inning routine, I want to be very clear. I am anti-contrarian. I'm anti-contrarian. It sounds like an oxymoron. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm anti-contrarian, i.e., I don't have time for people. I'm against the fact that people are trying to be different or different just to be different. So what I'm saying is I'm not looking to be different with these suggestions just to be different. I ain't got time for that. I don't think you guys have time for that. So we definitely want to avoid being contrarian. So I'm anti-contrarian. And I'm also not a fan of people just following along without asking, can we do what we're doing better? Can what we're doing now be improved to help increase our chance of achieving success? Okay, now that we've got that out on the table and that out of the way, let's dive into a few ways the pre-inning routine could be improved, in my opinion. Number one, catchers can throw down to all 3 bases, not just second base. So the last pitch, you could do other pitches too, but I think the safest, easiest way would be just to keep it the same as it's always been done. The last pitch gets thrown down. But why just throw it to second base every time? Why not throw it down to third base? Why not throw it down to first base? And maybe from there you spin and throw to the other bases around and back to the pitcher. So have them throw down to all 3 bases. In my opinion, I would do a ratio of like 2 throws to second base and then 1 to the corner bag. Something like that. However you want to figure it out. If you want to get really specific and granular with that detail, you can do that. Outfielders should make a throw. Moving to the next tip that I would recommend, outfielders should make a throw to second or third base at the end of the pre-inning routine. Now make sure that throw to that base is not going to coincide with the throw from the catcher. All right, it's pretty easy. You can work around that and maybe say, hey, during the first inning, outfielder going to make the throw to third base, and it's going to be the left fielder. And then maybe you pick 1 outfielder or 2 outfielders to make that throw. This is something that can be done fairly easy and effectively and discussed and implemented very effectively and easily. So each outfielder would make the throw to the bag, a game-like throw, maybe even off a ground ball that's thrown from one of the other outfielders. This doesn't need to take much time. It can be done really quickly. Third tip, first basemen can make a game speed throw somewhere, like a game speed throw to second or third base during the or maybe even turn a double play, 1 double play with the second baseman during that pre-inning routine. Speaking of double plays, infielders should turn at least 1 double play, so they should be involved in maybe at least 1 double play if you can fit it in at least every other inning. This is not something these are not all my just organic ideas. So some of these I've got from coaches, and some of these I've put together myself and kind of, and I'm sure they're being done somewhere in the world right now, but I'm just trying to give them to you all right here and compiled together. Next, ground balls can come from home plate area and not just from first base. So the ground ball in the game is not going to come from the first baseman angle. It's going to come from the home plate angle. This impacts the footwork and the movement and the momentum of things. So I don't recommend fungos and guys hitting fungos out there. I mean, if you can do it and they allow it, then hey, why not? Why not have some bench guys go hit fungos? You can maybe get in 2-3 extra authentic ground balls, but you could just have maybe a bench player or a coach standing near home plate, obviously not right next to home plate, with a little space in case of wild pitch, and he could be throwing ground balls to to the infielders. And also he could even roll or drag a drag bunt to the charging third baseman, something like that. So next tip, a pitcher's pre-inning routine should include throwing more than one pitch from the stretch and the last pitch or two. And I did a tweet on this. What I recommended, if you go to my Twitter, 8020_baseball, 8020_baseball, I actually, about 2 weeks ago, I put a tweet out there and I actually scripted out exactly how I would do a pre-inning pitcher's routine. So you don't want to have them just go from the stretch on the last pitch or for just one pitch. You want them to mix that up. And I also recommend, among scripting it out, you'll see I also recommend the last pitch of the inning be from the windup, not from the stretch, unless the pitcher only pitches from the stretch. I saw David Price is going to work from the stretch. The Dodgers, David Price, there was an article about him just going from the stretch to start the season. He's not going to use the windup. He's just going to pitch from the stretch. So if you have a pitcher like that only pitches from the stretch, and this doesn't apply, obviously they're going to go from the stretch. But what I would do if I was a pitcher in the stretch, obviously a pitcher in the stretch, or they should have two different moves. They should have a quick move, not necessarily a straight slide step, but what I call a power slide step. And then they should have their, higher leg lift pitch delivery with nobody on or in a situation where runners can't steal. I would finish with the whatever they're going to be using to start the first pitch to that batter, whatever delivery they're going to use, I would use that. It doesn't matter to the catcher if the pitcher's in the windup on the last pitch or not. They're going to throw the ball to second. They shouldn't be focused on any of that. They should really be kind of focused on, and they can get the timing the same. They can start their timing if they see it. They can kind of time it out when the pitcher's coming forward. It shouldn't really matter. And at the end of the day, if a pitcher's throwing strikes to that first batter, there's a lot less likelihood that the catcher's going to have to be throwing guys out come later in the inning. Next tip. Pitchers should do arm circles with a 1 to 3 pound plyo ball before going out to the mound, maybe 10 small reverse, 10 small forward. Arm circles or maybe 5 large or 5 large forward, 5 large reverse, and some arm scissors. This shouldn't take more than about 15 to 20 seconds, and it's going to save them a lot of time getting warmed up when they're out there. It's going to save them a couple pitches of warming up, and then they can go right into their pre-inning pitch routine with a warmed up arm, and they can make the most out of those 5 to 8 pitches. Next tip, catchers should block all balls in the dirt exactly the same way they would on a live pitch. I think the failure to do this should just earn a quick warning on the first time. And if a coach sees a catcher not block a ball in the dirt in the pre-inning, the second infraction, the second time it happens, should earn that catcher a spot on the bench. That's my take on it. That's what I would do, because they start to practice one way and all of a sudden game time comes around, they're going to try to scoop something. They're not going to block it like they should. And that's going to cost your team runs or at least bases, which end up more likely than not adding to the other team's score. Last tip, outfielders can throw to each other using long ground balls, not just throws and playing catch. So you can do some fly balls. I think fly balls is good to kind of get used to, especially at night with the lights, but also some ground balls, working on charging, shuffling, and making a throw on target as if there was a throw at the home plate or at third base. And those are typically very important plays. All plays are important, but those are definitely some very, very crucial plays where a great throw stops a run right then and there, or a poor throw or a poor execution or a fumbled, they come up and scoop and they fumble it up a little bit, then that adds to a run automatically right there. So there are probably more adjustments that can be made than those, but those are 9 adjustments that will help your defense be better prepared for the game. And before I finish up, I'd like to add that I highly recommend implementing these adjustments during practice time and rehearsing it a few times. So when the game comes around, it's autopilot. And we're going to talk about autopilot, how that's bad in a second. But in this case, putting them into a routine, it's just automatic. It's going to be much more fluid, safe, and productive come game time. All right, next topic. Ditch the autopilot. Ditch the autopilot in this particular situation. And this is actually not a particular situation. This is a wide range of situations. We all know baseball games require players to make a myriad of split-second decisions. Okay, baseball requires a lot of times split-second decisions, yet the vast majority of training drills and environments are designed to be choiceless. A perfect example of this split-second decision, the ultimate example is the pitch coming into the hitter. A split-second decision whether to swing or not, right? Yet, the vast majority of training drills in that particular example, batting practice, are designed to be relatively choiceless. And that a lot of batting practices are just like, hey, swing, swing, swing. There's not a whole lot of talk about the approach and taking pitches when they're not hittable pitches, especially less than 2 strikes. And also, most batting practices, and this has just astounded me forever, and I've talked about this for a long time, batting practices, for the most case, don't have multiple pitches being thrown, changeups, breaking balls. I mean, even a crappy breaking ball or a changeup is still better for the hitter to see than just pure fastball, pure batting practice fastballs over and over again. You want to train those split-second decisions. We want to get them off autopilot. Slow the game down by facilitating a training environment that requires rapid game-like decisions. We all know training for success come game time should be as game-like as possible. And we know come game time, most training drills are one-way drills, and thus come game time, they're not going to prepare us the way that they should. So create drills that inherently require, or I should say, or built in the requirement that players make split-second decisions. Not every drill needs to be like this, but I'm telling you what, this is so far underused and so widely underused in the baseball community. There's not a lot of like split-second decision making. So like here's a specific example, just a small example. So when I worked with catchers, I would stand out and I would throw the pitches to them and have them throw to different bases. I would have it like, say it's a group of a defensive group. So I have four guys. I have a catcher and he's grouped with a shortstop and a third baseman and a first baseman. And each of those guys is standing at their respective bases, third, second, and first. And then I would throw the pitch. And when I threw the pitch and they're working on their throw downs, like now the throw to first is obviously not a steal. It's more of a back pick, right? Okay. I would throw two things that added some variation. One, I wouldn't just throw fastballs down the plate, down the dish, right down the middle all the time. I would throw breaking balls to keep them back, and then I would throw changeups so they had to kind of work under that pitch a little bit more as they're coming up and making that throw, as they're kind of coming up and moving their feet. Now, I'm not going to get into catching. Catching's not my thing because there's a lot of great catching people out there, but I do know this. I do know that it's important to create split-second game-like decision-making a part of a routine. And so what I would do is have them, now I'm getting to the main point of this particular drill, is that I would have them catching the breaking balls, fastballs, and changes. But right as the pitch was getting there, I would yell out 1, 2, or 3. And that was the base they had to throw to, right? So I would yell out 1, 2, or 3, and that was the base they had to throw to. So it made them kind of process. And so sometimes when there's multiple runners on, they have to process first and third or first and second. Sometimes you're not throwing to that lead runner. Sometimes you're hitting that trail runner at second. You're going to throw him out, right? So that's just some small examples. There's 1,000 of little ways we can do this to our drills to incorporate some split-second decision-making and speed up the process and the processing of our players. All right, guys. So ditch the autopilot as best you can when it comes to training environment. Slow down the game. We're going to slow down the game by facilitating a training environment that requires rapid game-like decisions. So get creative with it. Be authentic with it. Keep it safe, but implement these last-second, split-second decisions where they got to process quick and then execute the delivery, the technique, the movement. All right, before I get to this great bonus tip that I feel is great and I think very helpful, I want to do a quick plug here for the 8020baseball.com one-of-a-kind coaching package. And I say one-of-a-kind, it really is something I spent over 6 months full-time, 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, sometimes 6 or 7 o'clock at night, putting this together. I put a lot of time, 33 plus years of experience into it, a lot of wisdom I've collected from all the great coaching minds, also from a lot of on the field, in the trenches use and trial and error. And I put it into a one-of-a-kind coaching package that will help you as a coach go out there and be more successful, win more, have more fun, and do it much faster. The learning curve has already been just greatly reduced by this package. It's gonna help you get right into like, hey, how do I do the right warm-up routine, the right throwing routine, the right strength and conditioning routine on the field? How do I create the perfect drill? How do I create and implement and facilitate the perfect and most optimized scrimmage? And there's a bunch of other things in there that are going to give you the answers, the plans, the guides, and the routines to make you a better coach, to make your players better, to get your team better much, much faster. And in our busy lives, you're busy, you got other things going on. This right here, I took the time to put this together so you could do it much faster, much more easily. And I'm telling you, you're going to like it. Go try it out. The goal of it was to have more fun, produce more wins, and eliminate the guessing. Thinking successful baseball should be done efficiently and enjoyable. And the proven blueprint is there for you at 8020baseball.com. It's ready. You can have it in your hands, on your computer, on your phone within minutes. You have all the access. And I think one of the best things about it is that you don't even have to use all of it. And there's like 12 or 13 different resources on there and things that'll give you that. Basically, it's an A through Z package, an A through Z template on how to coach successfully. But even if you only use 2 or 3 of the things, you're going to get your money's worth. I guarantee it. And one of the best things on there is that you have access to me at any time for questions that you're going to have. And I've consulted coaches for years, and there are hundreds of good questions that have come up, and there's always questions going on. I'm on Facebook groups that I watch, and I don't have time to get on there and really help everybody because there's just so much going on, but I see a lot of questions every day coming from all the sorts of parents and coaches, and that's what you have direct access to me to give you the answers that you need to go out there and be successful. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at 8020_baseball. I just finished up sharing 90 straight days of strategies. These are little kind of acute tips. I just finished up 90 straight days of that, and follow me on 8020_baseball. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you can learn along the way, and it's just kind of stay in touch. You can also DM me, ask some questions there, but I do try to allocate more of my attention first and foremost to those people that are part of the coaching package that I have over there at 8020baseball.com. All right, now to finish up, I have a bonus tip and a great quote from a semi-well-known football coach. If there ever is a best time to pick off, it's when a runner is at third base with 0 outs. It makes for the perfect time to pick off to third base, whether that's a pitcher's pickoff or a catcher's back pick. This is the time you want to go for it. This is the time you want to almost automatically pick. In this situation, the offense has the ultimate leverage. In other words, the odds that they score, the odds that the offense scores before the inning is over is at its highest point possible. But let's not forget that what goes with that is that the defense's risk-reward ratio will never be in more of a favor towards the defense. It will never be better for the defense to pick in that situation because you have the biggest reward to go along with that risk. So the risk is basically the same pretty much, but the reward is so much greater. The reward with a runner at first, if there's a runner at second base, there's a runner at third base and you're picking off the third base with 2 outs, the reward is not as big because the run expectancy in that situation is much lower, right? Because all you need is an out, a strikeout, a ground ball, or fly ball, and then that runner obviously hit third base can't score. It doesn't matter if he crosses the plate before or not, right? So if there's ever a best time to pick off, it's when a runner is at third base with 0 outs. It's the perfect time to pick off the third base. That's when the run expectancy is at its highest anyways. That's when the odds are in their favor the most. So in other words, you're playing a little bit with house money. So take advantage. That's the best time. It's the biggest reward for the defense, and the risk is kind of inherently the same throughout, but it provides the biggest reward in that particular situation. Runner at third base, 2 outs. And that semi-well-known football coach, Bruce Arians, said, "No risk it, no biscuit." And if you get a chance, go read his book. I read his book a couple years back. Man, it's great. No risk it, no biscuit. That's not the name of the book. That's his favorite quote. He probably says it 50 times in the book. Hey, no risk it, no biscuit. That was his thing. You got to risk it a little bit or you're not going to get that big reward. And that's the time. Playing smart and strategic is super important, and pick when to go for it is important. Obviously, that's why I'm telling you, this is the time to go for it. Not just any time. I would never pick the third with 2 outs. I just wouldn't. I would never do it. I would never pick off the third base with 2 outs. Now, with right-handers, picking the third is much easier. You can do the leg lift and all that, and you can really sell it a lot better. When you get the lefty involved, now you got some other things, some complexities, because you don't want your third baseman straddling the bag. You want him to play a regular defensive position and then slide over last minute. Well, the lefty pitcher is probably not going to see him slide. You might have the catcher drop his glove on the timing and things like that, but it can be done definitely with right-handers. Pick the third base with 0 outs. Do it. I think it's the ultimate time to do it. Okay, guys, this has been Coach Bo. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Like I said before, I do this for all you great coaches and players. Take good care of yourself. Take this out to the field. Bye for now.
This has been the 80-20 Baseball Experience.
This is a really good team, and so you have to earn everything you have against them and take opportunities when they present themselves.
Take it to the field.